What is up, YouTube? My name is JTR, and just recently we got an early announcement for the next TCG set after Chaos Rising, Pitch Black. Now, we don't know the American name that they're going to give it, but right now that is the current Japanese name. And in this video, after we talk about the cards a little bit, I will show you guys a small example of what I expect the card to be played with in a deck with the current information we know about the set. And we are going to cover a few cards announced, mainly the featured card of the set. And let's get into Mega Darkrai EX. Now, Mega Darkrai EX has 280 HP. About the set, it's the same as Mega Absol. It has two attacks, Night Raid and Abyss Eye. The first attack for 2 Darkness Energy does 110 plus. If any of your benched Pokemon have any damage counters on them, this attack does an extra 110. And this attack is mainly used for like killing tools, like I would say like Fez, Latios, Meowth, and it hits hard enough to kill like Teal Mask Ogerpon and Wellspring Mask Ogerpon. But the first attack is okay at best. You do have to set up damage on your bench, which is pretty easy because if you play things like Risky Ruins and then you set down a Monkey Dory, you can instantly get 20 damage on a Monkey Dory, and the Night Raid is hitting for that extra 110, right? But it's that attack is very situational, and you're mainly not really going to be using it because the second attack for 3 energy, Abyss Eye, this is the big one. It requires a status condition with an item called Dark Bell, which we'll cover in a second. But this attack changes breakpoints for Dark in a very, very huge way. Now, for 3 energy, Abyss Eye, if your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by any special condition, it is now knocked out. Now, Abyss Eye is a very, very huge attack. Can just take out Megas in an instant just by setting up any type of status condition. You could set it up with Volcanion. You could set it up with like Baby Petrunt if you poison them. But the main thing that you're probably going to be using, which is obviously it was in the announcement, is Dark Bell. Now, Dark Bell is an item. It says both active Pokemon except any darkness Pokemon are now confused. So if you play a Dark Bell, get 3 energy on the Mega Darkrai, it's taking any knockout it possibly wants. And you got to remember, Dark Bell is an item. So Boss into Dark Bell into Abyss Eye takes just about any knockout you want. It's a very, very huge combo, and we're going to get into a small deck list on, like I said, we don't have all of the cards in the set right now, but I can show you guys a small example of just what would set up Mega Darkrai pretty quick and some of the partners it might see. And then another card that we'll cover really quick is Shadow Darkness Energy. This is a special Darkness Energy that we're getting in that set. And it says, as long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides 1 Darkness Energy. Prevent all damage done by your opponent's attacks to the bench Pokemon this card is attached to. Now, that means that Dark essentially gets like a Shaman protection as long as your opponent doesn't have Enhance Hammer. So this is also a very huge energy. The only problem is that it's a special energy, and there really isn't any incentive to really use this. I mean, like, you can, but most of the dark toolbox mainly wants to use basic energies. If you can afford to use the attach and maybe fit one of these into your deck, then it can be useful, but it's only going to cover a specific amount of matchups. And if you do hit this and you need that basic energy, then it's going to hurt you a lot, right? So yeah, let's get into the deck list, and we will move over there in just a second. All right, so now starting with the deck list for Mega Darkrai EX, we have the 2 cards added to the image here. You'll see that there's 55 cards in the deck. You would just add 3 Dark Bell and then 2 Mega Darkrai EX to this list. And I could see Mega Darkrai being played with like Toxicity and one Mega Absol, and have a few tools to add to it. Now, this is essentially a Toxicity box that list with added with the Mega Darkrai and the Dark Bells. This list is done pretty decent in the past, but Mega Darkrai just pushes this into a whole nother range, right? And Toxicity also presets up that damage by adding a darkness energy using Sinister Surge. Now it says once during your turn, you may use this ability, search your deck for a basic darkness energy card and attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. If you attached a energy to a Pokemon in this way, place 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. So for the first attack for Darkrai EX with Night Raid, you'll be able to get that extra 110 damage just by proccing an energy onto any of your darkness Pokemon. And then on top of that, you are accelerating an energy for the turn. So your Mega Darkrai is already hitting for 220 very easily by adding an extra energy with Toxicity. And then if you need to take any bigger knockout, then you just Petrol for a Dark Bell. You can just play Team Rocket's Petrol and then search out your Dark Bell and then just take any knockout that you want. I think that's insanely strong. But some of the other cards that the deck will run is it'll run a 1-up Mega Absol, because why not? Absol in the past has just terrorized tournaments, right? With Terminal Period. Again, it's a little bit harder to set up, but if you can get the 6 damage counters on something, then you can Terminal Period. So you have another way of taking an instant knockout. So 2 different ways of taking instant knockouts that your opponent has to play around. They have to play around Absol and Mega Darkrai. And then if they aren't ready for it, then they get hit for 200 with Claws of Darkness, and you just rip a card out of their hand. It's very, very strong. Classic Dark matchup. It's going to have a very hard time into Grass. Obviously, as Mega Absol and Mega Darkrai both have a grass weakness, so the things like Ogerpon and Festival are going to be problems for this deck. But there are definitely ways of you playing out of it. You have one of Monkey Dory to just move your damage counters around as you like, and just push your Darkrai and your Absol into a different damage bracket, as well as heal them. And then you also run a baby Petrarunt for Poison Chain. So it's just like this is essentially the Yveltal of the deck. It's another way to lock down something into the active while poisoning them. But the nice thing about Petrarunt is that you get that status condition that Yveltal's Clutch wouldn't give you. And then let's say you don't have a Dark Bell and your Darkrai and your Mega Darkrai can push up for a KO, then the Petrarunt sets that up a little bit easier than a Yveltal. You have a 1-of Badoo. Everybody knows Badingus. And the reason why we run Badoo in the deck, and you'll probably want to go second, is just so you can, like, you could Poffin for your Toxels, so you can pre-set up your Mega Darkrai. Same thing with your Absol, and just immediately get those energies onto either one, which for whatever matchup and whatever situation you need to. You have Petrarunt EX to just pivot with Subjugating Chains. So you can essentially pivot using Subjugating Chains and push up Absol or Mega Darkrai. If one takes a hit, then you can push up the other for free. Petrarunt's just great for that. You have Fez for draw, and then it's also a darkness Pokemon. So both Petrarunt and Fezandipity both can be used as backup attackers in this deck, which is great. Usually they end up being dead tools, but because you have the darkness energy and the toxicities, now the Petrarunt and the Fezandipity can swing in for attacks if you really need to. And then the only liability is probably Meowth. So yeah, the Meowth just makes the deck a lot more consistent. Everybody knows this card. It's the best card in Perfect Order, and you're going to see it through Chaos Rising and also into Pitch Black. We run 4 Lilies for consistency, 3 Boss's Orders, 3 Petrels to be able to search out your Dark Bells or your Unfair Stamp, which we have in this deck as well, or any of your energy searches if you do need it for that turn. And then you have a 1-of Judge just for disruption on top of your Unfair Stamp. You have Poffins to set up your Badoo and your Toxels in the early game. You have pads. You have pads to search out any of your tools such as Monkey Dory, Pecharunt, or your Toxicity that you're missing. Or it can grab you a Badoo as well. You have your Ultra Balls to search just for more consistency to search out any of your options. You have 3 energy switches to move that energy around whatever way you like. You can bounce an energy onto Toxicity, or use Toxicity to put an energy down, put it on something else, move it to a Monkey Dory, use Monkey Dory, and then move it to something else. Whatever. There's a bunch of different lines of play that energy switch allows, which is really great. You have 2 Pokegears to just search out, just make the deck a little bit more consistent and search out your supporters. You have a 1-of Night Stretcher, and an Energy Recycler. Now, the thing about Toxicity is that you're going to see your energy start disappearing really quick, and we only run 9 energy, and when you need those energy back into the deck, you can use the Recycler to get them back into the deck and keep using Toxicity as well. You have the Fairest of Stamps, obviously, and then you have 2 balloons for extra pivoting for your Mega Darkrai and your Absol or anything else that you need to really put it on. And then you have 2 Watchtowers. Now the Watchtowers are just to shut off the Alakazam draw with their Dunsparce. It turns off Mega Kang. It turns off other Meowths. So you could play your Meowth, drop a Watchtower, and then turn theirs off. And then you have 9 Darkness Energy. Now this deck seems very, very menacing. If you want my personal opinion on the deck, this is just an example of something that can be built. And on top of, we haven't even gotten a reel for the full set, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be more cards that can be played in this deck, and maybe this list changes around a little bit. But I can see Toxicity being very huge with Darkrai just because it's able to just accelerate those energy onto it and just take those early knockouts. And then on top of that, you also have an Absol in the back, so this deck just seems insanely scary. And I'm excited to see what the rest of the set has to offer and how it's going to affect the meta. If you made it to the end of the video, hope you guys enjoyed the deck list and the review on some of the cards from Pitch Black. We definitely didn't cover every single card, but we will see what we can talk about as more of the set gets revealed. But Mega Darkrai, Dark Bell, and the Shadow Darkness Energy are pretty huge contributions to the meta. So yeah, and we hope to see you on the next one. Have a good one.